order. Call to order and do a roll call. Kathy Thomas.
Here.
Meg Jones.
Here.
Joanne Cummings.
Here.
Dana Moretta.
Here.
Ryan Brutus.
Here.
Lindsay Purcell.
He's not here, but he is working on all our paperwork for us.
Okay. Jim Farr.
Here.
Jason. He's out on the
so-
roads with the street department, and Richard Wirtz, so we have a quorum. I don't think there's any announcements or presentations tonight. Our base of our meeting is to review of the city tree ordinance and tree care manuals. And Jim has passed out the standards for keeping us as a Tree City USA. So I'll turn it over to Jim.
Okay, thank you, Richard. Yeah, I handed out the 4 basic standards that are required to be a Tree City USA. And as we were doing our revising of the tree care manuals, some fairly valid and important portions of it were either deleted or we were undecided on what we wanted to do with it as a group. And so I had asked Lindsay if he'd take a look at these things, because he basically writes them from cities, towns, colleges, universities, all over the United States, and he said he'd be more than happy to work on those. He's right now, he's out of town, but he'll be back next week. And so I went ahead and sent him previously our the ordinance that was redone several years ago, but it's kind of outdated because once we adjust the tree care manual, we want it to work in concert with the ordinance itself. Lindsay had made a point on several items. I can't remember them all in particular, but he was going through there and he said some things like if people or individuals, landowners would like to plant a tree, that we should basically permit them so that we know what is going to be planted, so we can keep an eye on that, who's going to actually be doing the work, and if they need some assistance to where we can help them do it correctly, and in fact even teach them as, you know, the staff of the city. So as it stands right now, people could plant in the right of way without any recourse, and who knows what they'd be planting because they wouldn't have to notify us. And I think it's best that they tell us what they would like to do so that we can present them with a list that we've been working on as we revamp this document. But of suggested trees, and who knows, they may come up with something that very well would fit, and we just didn't have it on our list. So I think it would all be well and good if we add that list and get that list corrected to put into the tree care manual. If we don't provide any oversight, then we're gonna get into some problems. And if there's no penalties for people damaging trees, in the past, we've luckily caught people before a tree company they had hired started to work on our city trees. There's only been one instance that I can remember since I started here in where there were climbers in the trees and they had limbed them all the way to the top, so they were probably 30-foot fly swatters. They were horrible. The trees were not that big, probably 10-inch, and the homeowners had actually planted them prior to me working for the city. And we got the gentleman out of the trees and told him that we'd be getting in touch with them later. But luckily, we haven't had that kind of trouble since. I did stop and talk to people last week. Jason has been working diligently with Duke Energy who's doing some line work and some replacement here in the city. And, now I've been permitting them, but, I didn't necessarily know what link it was on a plan. So I stopped and talked to the company who was their subcontractor. And, luckily they were working for, a tree to be removed that Jason had already approved. So, but, you know, a couple of phone calls and it all worked out. So some of the things that Lindsay had listed here, besides the tree types and varieties, was that we are gonna need to have some sort of teeth in the document to keep our tree city and keep us in the driver's seat, so that we don't have people damaging the trees that we already have. And, they aren't gonna be planting things that we don't want. You know, we don't need any more invasives. I've got Bradford pear in my fence rows on my farm, and I never planted a Bradford pear in my life on that property. And so, you know, in 3 or 4 years, I've got 1.5-inch trees. So, anyway, we also want a document that we can present to the public and they can have access to, so that it can provide, you know, clear guidance for them, so they know what questions to ask us, so that it's not an all afternoon ordeal. It's, let's get the questions answered and move ahead. So we're gonna, you know, there's gonna be some additional items on planting, maintaining, and even steps for removing trees if they need to be. Generally, the city just takes care of that themselves. We really don't need subcontractors of a homeowner working on city property. We've tried that in the past, and it was not very successful. So I guess to summarize this a little bit, we can strengthen our tree ordinance by improving our tree manual, and he's gonna also go over the tree ordinance and get it back to me, and then I can present it at our, I guess it's January meeting. So I'm really happy and pleased that he has taken the time to help us like this. He and I have presented at the same conferences before, and so, and plus he taught at Purdue, so.
He typically charges a lot of money to do this too.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
A lot.
I believe that's probably what he's doing now, is just working out of state. So. Does anybody have questions or anything?
So all the verbiage that was in there about permits that needs to be in there, it just
Yeah,
wasn't
it's just
happening.
how we implement
Yeah.
those permits.
So is that gonna be on the street department? I mean, is that,
Yeah, or me, since I do all the right-of-way permitting for the city, which, what's one more thing? We'll work that out internally.
okay.
How are the penalties gonna be assessed? Is that gonna come from the street department, or?
I think he'll probably leave that portion of this, I won't say blank, but he'll have suggestions as to what other cities and towns use, and then you can make the decision on the amounts.
How do we get this out to the public that we're actually going to start?
Well, one,
In action on these penalties?
we can do some things with the web. We can put it on the city's website. We can put it in newspapers and things of that nature, alerting people that the document has been finalized, and, you know, please read and educate yourselves on how the city's gonna be operating from there on forward. I used to say, we'll stick an article in the newspaper. We could possibly do that, but we also need other avenues, since people are
The
so.
social media is gonna be much better
I
probably
think so.
than the newspaper.
And that's the educational component that we can put in it too.
Are the city permits, is it all online? Or is it? you
Yes.
have to?
Yeah, it's called OpenGov,
Okay.
and,
Because
so,
currently there wasn't any actual permit that you could apply for, right? Like it was, the writing was in there, but it never, the actual permit
not
didn't
for
exist.
trees. Yeah, not for
yeah.
trees. We could add, we can add it to that.
Yeah, okay. I'm just curious.
That's, yeah, that's not a problem. Actually, I wasn't real thrilled with here we go with another change. It works fabulously for me.
Online?
Yes, I've
it's
got,
relatively
well, right
new?
now I've got currently 315 to 325 permits. And we're starting to close them up because the working season is starting to come to an end. But they're still coming in. And people like it better. They pay as soon as I review it and, and okay it, they can pay. As soon as they pay, their permit is in, right there in their computer. It's right there in hand. They can print it and take it with them. So
But that's
it's-
not to plant on their property, that's to plant on our property.
Yeah, yeah, just on city property.
Are the right-of-ways on city streets the same on all the streets?
No, they vary. Some of them are 30, 35 feet. Majority are probably 50, which is 25 feet from the center line. But in some cases, we do have 70 feet of right-of-way. Just depends on where you are. We have a list of, the most current list of the right-of-ways, but we need to update it because we're adding roads and things constantly.
Okay.
Any other questions? It sounds like that, I'm gonna jump ahead. Chip sent out a proposed meeting dates for 2025, and the tree advisor, you guys all should have received that. January 16th, March 20th, April 26th Arbor Day event, May 15th, August 21st, September 27th, and October 23rd. So my feeling is, Jim, then that on January 16th, which I will be back,
Okay.
I'm coming back the 14th, 13th. But to go over and we'll have all this ahead of time?
Yeah, if I can get it to everybody electronically, we've got all their, email addresses, so we could, I could get that sent out.
Does anybody have a problem with any of those dates?
I don't think I got that list. Can you run those?
It's up on
It's
the,
on your screen too, on the.
Oh,
might be on your screen. You know, I don't know.
I don't know how to get to that.
I can't even get on there.
Tap on the dates.
Here's- here they are.
Date? Well,
Never mind.
Meeting dates, it's under 4, new business.
What'd you do?
hey, I have the touch.
The one thing I do know in talking with Jim is we have to have the Arbor Day celebration and a event, and we've had that down at the Urban Park every year. Huh? That's a Saturday. And in the past, it's been set at 10 a.m. And
Wait,
if-
what?
If the weather's rough, Chip always has us at 10 or 2.
What one are we talking about?
Arbor Day is April 26th, a Saturday at 10 a.m. And it's in conjunction with a festival, isn't it, Chip?
Sometimes it falls that way. I mean, it's the Spring Vintage Festival. I think it's normally around that time.
So if it's agreeable, the January, we'll table the review of the tree ordinance and tree manual till January 16th. And Jim will get information out to all of us prior to the meeting.
Yeah.
Under the new business, basically, we have the meeting schedule, which you've all gotten to. And the advisory committee goals, which falls into the tree ordinance proposal that we'll have with the city. And public input, I think we need to get more information out to the public, because there's somewhat of a lack of knowledge. Because I was asked what we do, and I don't have a real good spiel. We try to set for the city and the property ordinances and work with the proper trees being planted and maintained. And I think you're still working on an inventory.
Jason, they are.
They're still working on trying to give us a good inventory of our city trees.
Yeah, we had a preliminary inventory when I first started, that I actually worked with Davey on that. And we need to basically either completely do it again or go back through and add or subtract the removals, since we've been through the emerald ash borer, things of that nature. I mean, there's been a sizable amount of ash removed. I forget, it's between 400 and 700 trees.
Wow, big difference.
And there's still remaining blue and whites out there that are still alive. So, but the greens are gone.
Okay. Does anybody else have anything with objectives and goals for the current year?
Well, what is the number of hours that we need to
That's what I was
stay
saying.
as a tree city? I mean, I think that that's important, that
that
we at
goal
least
that we need to
complete that.
reach.
Jason's been keeping
Yeah.
those the last 5 years, so I'm not sure what we've been.
I don't know if
If we made it this
we'll
year?
make it this year, honestly,
Yeah, we didn't do a lot.
with the fall festival being canceled. I mean, that was a
Right.
big
That
hit.
took, two people times probably 8 hours.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Or more.
Yeah, he adds some of his staff time in on some of that too,
Okay.
so.
But I think keeping that, making sure that we keep up with that.
Yes, he
is
has to
part of our
present all
goals.
that. We discussed a little bit of that today between his running in and out for the salt trucks.
Well, and working on the manual, those hours will count also. I
Oh,
don't know
yeah.
How many hours he's
Absolutely.
got into,
Good.
into
You know what?
that.
If you just take all of us, I'm sure everybody put in a few hours, because that's not something I can read in a matter of.
You can also add in, I spent over an hour in the urban forest, collecting things that I was gonna use at the fall festival, and preparing the little setup that I've been doing the last few years. Even though we didn't have the fall festival, you can still
Still.
count those hours.
We'll put Chip in charge of weather this year.
Yeah,
I can do it.
no more hurricanes.
If it ain't forest fire, smoke, or hurricane, it's always something.
Yeah. Do we need to give you those hours?
Yeah, Jason.
I just ask everybody to kind of rough up the hours. And I know 4 months ago or so, everybody was reading that and we put in some time. And, Jim, anything else to add?
I think I'm good if there aren't any more questions.
No public comments? Ryan?
No, I don't have anything.
Meg?
No.
Dana? Kathy? Joanna?
Nope.
Okay, I did speak with the mayor. Felt like this year it's just been an off year with several things that have happened and, but he would like each of you to remain on the Tree Advisory Committee. He will be sending out an email, if you're all agreeable, for 2025. That's something that he has to do. And And then in January, we can set up how we want the officers and to go for 25. And really, that's all I have. And then you've all got the calendar now, or know where it is. And so if there's no further business, we're adjourned, and we look forward to getting